Hey gorgeous souls, in this episode I'm going to tell you about how I created my business to suit my life, not my life to suit my business, and did it as a full-time homeschooling mom without sacrificing my lifestyle, my time freedom, my energy. So let's get into it. I'm so excited to talk to you guys because I'm sure that those of, well, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that those of you listening to this episode have a business vision or a business idea or some kind of desire or drive to create some kind of business or income, side hustle, avenue for abundance. The first business I started when I was 17 years old. That sounds young, but I was dreaming up on entrepreneurial ideas from the time I was 8. I'd tested out a few businesses by the time I was 17. Apple selling at the side of the road, a beauty salon in my living room, a fashion label, a comic book. Goodness, lots of little tests and trial runs. And by the time I was 17 years old, I actually knew I wanted to be a life coach at that age, but I felt I was too young. I had hundreds of other ideas though, so it was all good. And one of them in particular, there was a hair tickling my face. When I was 17 years old, I was sharing this idea, and I shared it with someone in particular who said, "That's a really good idea, you should do that." And it's amazing the power that encouragement and reinforcement can do, because they thought it was a good idea. Maybe I was onto something. And then my mum was telling me, look, that's actually really simple. It's just do one step a day. My idea was that my mum and I went to this garage sale. We're going to go deep for a second. It's going to make this episode a little bit longer, but stories are important. So my mum and I went to this garage sale, and it was a double garage, absolutely full of clothes with tags on for $1. And this girl had bought all these clothes, decided she didn't like them, she was selling them. Okay? Yeah. Here's the thing. We were the only people there. I think another person arrived as we left, but I just thought, oh my God, if people knew about this, they would flock here and this would all be sold out. It's brand new clothes for $1, right? Everyone loves that. So I realized that there was this discrepancy between the supply and the demand. The demand was there, the supply was there, but there wasn't the connection between the two. So anyway, fast forward, I decided that there should be a place. There should be a place for people to sell their unused clothes, because almost everybody has them. We live in this consumerist society where we buy more things than we need. And I do also believe that it's as we grow and change, we are attracted to different colors and different styles, and that's fine. It's not just an expression, but it's changes how you feel, what you wear, the colors and things like that. But anyway, and there wasn't a place for that. You could put clothes on eBay, but it's too hard to take photos of everything, and you can't get the light, well, you can, and getting the lighting right, it's just not everyone's attracted to doing that. Some people would sell clothes at garage sales, and it's just not the place. People don't go garage sailing to look for clothes. I did it a few times and found that people just wanted to buy the knickknacks and things. So, long story short, I had this idea for this market where people know that that's where you go, and store holders know that's where you go, and we match them up together. And my mum said to me, that's really simple. Hire the stall, hire a hall, find the people, and just do one step a day until you've done it. Like, call up halls and find a venue, find the people. It's simple. And you might not be thinking about starting a market, and I'm not thinking about that at the moment either. I do love online businesses. But this applies to you too, because it really is that simple. It's find the venue, so have your website, have your hosting, have your business, find the people, and then connect. And that's what marketing is that connection. It's so that the people know where to look, where to find you. Super, super simple. So I created this thing in 2 months. And I ran it every month. It was, okay, the first time was super successful because it was something that people wanted and needed. And it sold out. The stalls sold out the first time, and then they said, we'd love to come back. The customers said, this is great. And it grew and it built. And so I was running this business. And I was still running it by the time I had my kids. And initially I was doing it manually. I was talking, people would email me and I'd talk to them one-on-one, and it would take a lot of time because I would write out the answers to their questions every single time. Then I started saving a document and copying and pasting, but I still had all these emails. I had the emails manually saved on a document that I would paste into the heading of the email, and then eventually I started using MailChimp to make it easier. And then I built a website. I used Wix for my first website. I built that website so all the information was there, and then I eventually automated the stalls because Wix introduced their like the shopping aspect on there that you could sell products, and it became so much easier, and I only had to spend not long at all each month on my market. So that was my business by design. That's how I designed it for me to suit me. And then I had my kids, and it ended up, I'd have 4 hours a month where I had to go and be on site. And then I ended up selling my business on. I really wanted it to go to someone who would love it and nurture it and keep the spirit of it. And I decided I wanted to sell it, and then it just wasn't right. And it ended up taking a year later. I knew that the time was right. I had a lot of interest, but the first person, I don't know if it was the first person or the first name I saw that kind of stood out, I didn't know that was the one, but I met her and I'm so happy. She's been running it for 2 years now. I'm happy that it went to her because she's doing an amazing job. And I tell you all of this because business doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hard to set up. It doesn't have to take too much time. It doesn't have to take too much energy. It can be designed for you. And the way that business works is the more value you give, the more financial reward you receive in return. It's an energetic exchange. It's a financial exchange. I wasn't paid by the hour. I was paid by the amount of value that I brought to these people. So each stall holder, they would make whatever amount, and they would pay for their stall. And for the most part, I was bringing value to them. We'd get someone here or there who probably wasn't suited to the market, but hundreds and hundreds of people came through that market, and a lot of returning stall holders, because it was bringing value to them. It was giving them the space, the platform for them to sell these clothes they no longer needed, and to receive that financial return for they had bought the clothes in the first place, and they were getting some money back. And that was my mission, is that if people spend a certain amount on an item of clothing, that was another part of it, is that sometimes they didn't feel like they didn't want to donate it, and they didn't have the time and energy to put it on eBay, and garage sales weren't the right place for them, so they would just hold on to it, and these clothes would just be sitting in their closets not used. And then we created this space where it can actually flow. It can flow, the things can flow to the next person, and become this beautiful cycle. So that was the value in that business. And having value, offering value, is probably the most important part of business. So whatever your vision is, if you haven't started yet, or if it's still a hobby, I'm guessing you have some beliefs about how much time and energy you need to put into this business to make it work. So many of us have this idea that it has to be hard work. And I want to dispel that myth, because that's stopping you from starting. And most of you, if you ask yourself, you know that this is what you're destined to be doing. Some of you just want to start a business and you don't have your idea yet. You don't know your purpose yet. And that's fine. I love that. I was there for so long. For those of you who know what it is, you know who you want to help, you know what change you want to make in the world, how long have you known that? How long have you known it and not taken action? Or how long have you had this vision but your business at the moment is looking more like a hobby? Or how long have you been serving less people than you know you can help and truly desire to help? And what's holding you back? What is holding you back? Is it that you think it's going to be hard work? Is it that you don't know what to do and where to start? I'm obviously not going to address that in this video, but I would love to. I'd love to help you with that, because I've been there. I've been confused. When I was 17 and wanted to start a business, I didn't know entrepreneurs. That's half the reason I didn't become a coach straight away. I thought I was too young. That was a part of it. The reason I thought I was too young is because the only role models I had were people like Tony Robbins and other middle-aged men who were writing books. I literally did my first life coaching course on a CD that was sent to me in the mail, from a mail as well. The first female life coach I was ever aware of, I think, was Leonie Dawson, and finding her blew my mind, because I realized I could do this too, that it can be fun. Her things are so colorful and like happy and playful, and she was a female. She wasn't an old man writing a book about finances and business and goals. She was talking about life. So if you have a vision and you don't have any role models out there, it can be really hard. So it's great these days, because I'm sure you do. There's all the social medias and websites galore, books galore, of all sorts of people sharing their path and sharing advice. And that can be great. It can also be overwhelming. But anyway, if you don't know where to start, first, know that it can be simple. It can be really easy. The way I started my first business, I literally printed off some very basic posters, and I put them up in public bathrooms and at bus stops. And I sold out that market, and I sold out every single market from that. That was like the most basic marketing strategy in the world. So the whole thing is to know what you offer, and then find the people who want it. That's business can be so simple. And there's the next thing is that it doesn't have to be hard work. Once you find those people, like before you do that, figure out what you want from your life and how your business fits that and suits that. And if you say, I want to be with my kids all day, but I believe my business is going to take 8 hours a day, there's a mismatch, and you're obviously going to have to choose one or the other. But if you start to say, hang on, okay, how could I get the outcomes I want in my business, help the people I want to help, and have the things I desire in my life? How could they work together? So when I started coaching, I started doing it an hour in the evenings after my kids were going to sleep. And that was hard, because my kids were so hard to get to sleep for a really long time. And as a manifestation teacher, trying to manifest that, there was so much resistance. It was tricky. Anyway, they would go to sleep and I'd be exhausted. That's my point. I'd be exhausted, but I'd be energized and invigorated, because I was about to do this thing for me, and this thing that was bigger than myself. And I would spend an hour. I set that time. It was going to be an hour. And then after that hour that I was working hard on my business, getting into that state of flow, then I would watch television for an hour or read a book for an hour or have that relaxed time, whatever I wanted. And then I would go to bed and I'd have a good sleep. So I wasn't sacrificing my sleep. That's probably the main thing I don't sacrifice in my life. But probably sacrificing a bit of my energy and that little piece of my time. And I created that second business in that way. And now with this business, I'm still working out the routine and the schedule, but I know that it's really important for me to harmonize both worlds. The other day I was at, I'm a member of Business by Design, and I was at BBD Live, and someone said, you can't spend 8 to 10 hours in one identity and 8 to 10 hours in another identity. It just doesn't work. Something's got to give. And I resonate with that, because for a while it was business me, parent me, business me, parent me. And I find that the best thing is when I take what I teach and I use my daily life as like, okay, I'm going to live this. I'm going to live it, and I'm going to be in the present moment. And I'm not taking my business into that world, but knowing that that's who I am and what I'm about, and just paying attention to what happens during my day and what that's teaching me and how I can bring it back into my business, and just bringing those kind of chords of connection between the two things. And then designing my life around it. I think it was it yesterday or the day before? My favorite thing is to getting up before the kids, guys. Oh my God, that's amazing. Getting up before the kids is great. But getting up and getting something done, making some progress, getting something accomplished, and then putting it aside for like the rest of the day and going to the beach and being fully present and just being a mum, because I know that those other things are out of the way. That's worked really well for me, because I've done that opposite. Like I said, I've worked in the evenings, and that was stressful, because all day I know that in the evening I've got to get this thing done, and what if I don't have the time, and what if my kids stay up late, and it was stressful. Or, you can delegate some childcare. You might have time at the moment. Put those blocks of time in where you're just going to focus on your business, and any time that isn't that time, don't bring your business into that other time, because then you're like half doing both things all the time, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting being in both worlds and being in neither. It's like, that's the other metaphor they used the other day, is having one foot in one world and one foot in the other. It's you can't be in both. You feel split, so you've got to be in one or the other. But that doesn't mean that you can't do both. It doesn't mean that you can't have both, because I am all about being able to live the life that you want, and it gets to be easy. Your dreams are possible, and they get to be easy. It's just these ideas that we have about how things have to happen, and the rules of they have to happen, the rules of how they have to happen, that holds us back. I'm sure that it's so common, and I'm sure that you've done it too, is the solution can be right in front of us, but because we've made a rule about how it has to happen, it can't. Catherine Zenkina calls it putting the universe in a chokehold, because if we say this is the only way it can happen, is it blocks off all these other options. Like when I manifested this house, I said, well, I didn't want it to be modern looking. I wanted it to be more cottagey, natural. I actually didn't know what I wanted it to be, but I do like things to be clean and sleek, so maybe my subconscious got in there a little bit. So I was resisting it, and I didn't accept it for a year or 2 years or something. And then in the end I thought, hang on, this is ridiculous. I've manifested almost exactly what I wanted. It just looks different. But I know that if I moved in there, I think I would feel how I want to feel. So having those rules about how it has to come can really hold us back. I've done it in my life as well. Like maybe you want to do yoga in the morning, and for a while I wasn't having my morning routine because my kids would wake up as soon as I get up. They would hear me. So I thought, well, I didn't end up doing it. And then I thought, well, you know what? I want to do yoga. Doesn't matter that my kids are awake. And then they just read books while I do yoga. And now I'm getting back into that routine, waking up before them. We can have the things that we want and have the feeling and the outcome that we want. We can get the things we want from them without them happening exactly how we think they should happen, because that's when we limit ourselves. So this business vision, this idea that you have, if you don't have it yet, that's fine, we'll work on that. But this idea that you have, what do you want from it? Who do you want to help? And what's the outcome you want to have? Because there are so many different ways of having that outcome. Like if you think you need to work one-on-one, but how would you ever have the time to help the people you want to help by doing it one-on-one? Well, maybe you need to create an online course or a membership or a group coaching or something. There are different ways of doing things. There are so many ways. And it gets to suit you, and it gets to be easy, and you get to have all of it. And this is why it's so important to connect with other people, is because they bring us the ideas and they make us to think differently about these things and help us to shift into, it's almost like that river of abundance. I've got a video on that, going around the rocks and around the hurdles, and we can get to the place we want to go. Sometimes we're too busy like looking at the rock. It's like, you know, when a leaf flows down the river and it kind of gets stuck on a rock and you're like, oh, is it going to keep flowing or is it just stuck there? It kind of is stuck against the rock for a little while. But eventually the flow, you know, moves it on, or sometimes it's just still stuck there when I stop looking. But maybe you're like that leaf. You're like up against this rock and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm stuck up against a hard place, rock in a hard place, right? But this flow is still there. You just kind of got to let go of that resistance, that attachment to the rock, so that flow can come in and swish you down that river and take you where you want to go. So that's how I like to do business, is make it easy. The second business I was talking about, when I was doing it an hour a night, it wasn't an hour every night, it was an hour until I'd finished creating that course. And then I launched the course and I helped people, and now I'm on to different things as well. But I think it's like that saying goes, that we overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. And we can get really perfectionistic about things and say, this is my big vision, how am I going to get it all done? There's so much to do. But you just need to find where you're going to start. You know, with that market business, I started by calling venues and I found the venue. Done. That bit's done. Next step, how to find store holders. And I decided to make posters. If I was stuck being a perfectionist about how the posters look, I would never have put those posters up and I would never have found those people. And I mean, it's funny, it's the difference between me starting that business and me starting this business is huge, because I just did it. I said, it doesn't matter if it's messy. But with this business, because I have so much attachment, I have so much passion, I have so much desire to help so many people, and I have this massive vision, I get a little bit perfectionist about it. And I heard it said once, it's like sometimes we put our business vision up on this pedestal and it's like we can't reach it. We can't reach it. It's up there and we can't get it. And how do we make it happen? I've got to take it off the pedestal. It's just a business. It's just an idea. It's just something we want to put out there. And when you give yourself permission to just do it and do it messy, and then you can refine it. I like to say it's like the difference between sitting there with a piece of clay in front of you and like willing it to mold itself into a vase versus actually grabbing the clay and starting to shape it. And it might not look exactly how you want it to look straight away, but you got to start and then you can mold it. And that's how I felt with my market business. When I was starting to build the website, the first website was like a polka dot background with text in the middle. And it was there was no branding whatsoever. I mean, it kind of was the brand at the time. It was so simple. And then I tweaked it and changed it and tweaked it until I had this website that I liked. And then I would tweak things and I would tweak the wording. And it's when we start that we can do that. But when we have 1,000 things that we feel like we need to do in a tiny period of time, it's literally impossible. It's literally impossible. So find one thing refine your vision. Figure out who you want to help, how you want to help them, how you're going to deliver it to them, and then how you're going to tell them about it, basically. So that's it. That is it. I don't know, if you're going to get started, what's a really simple piece? If you know who you want to help and you know how you want to help them, next thing, choose how you're going to deliver it to them. And I started my first course was delivered via videos on Facebook. I made it so simple because I just wanted to get it out there. And my current one is going up on Kajabi because it's an amazing platform. But there's a gazillion different platforms out there these days. It's so easy to start a business. MemberVault is free up to like 1,000 members or something. There's Teachable, Thinkific, New Zenler, Kartra. Anyway, I shouldn't be overwhelming you, but my point is that there's options. And if you want, you could start with Zoom. You could say, okay, I'm going to do group coaching. I'm going to advertise on my Instagram page, and then I'm going to do it through Zoom. You can get started. Like if you have a following, if you have some people who are interested, you can get started today. Today, you could start your business. Figure out what your offer is. Tell people about it. That's it, guys. That is it. So, who, how are you going to get it to them, how are you going to deliver it, and then how are you going to find them. So if you've got that Instagram, if you've got a following somewhere, tell them about it. If you don't, choose a platform and start sharing. Jump on YouTube, jump on a podcast, all the socials. TikTok is a great one for growth. Instagram, Facebook, you can connect with people through groups. Each of them have their different strategy. Each of them have their different modality, almost medium, I guess. Do what suits you. If you're a writer, do a blog. If you show up well to camera, get on TikTok. Whatever works best for you, that's the one you should do, and forget all the rest, especially when you're starting out. I found it so hard because I want to do all the things and I have plans for all the things, but you just got to start with one and focus on it. And then if you want to bring other things in, you can do that as well. What was the other thing I was going to say? Consistency. Oh my God. Everyone talks about consistency and showing up, and then sharing and being authentic as well. But just the showing up, I knew that conceptually for so long. And then when I did it, when I started TikTok, showed up every day. I did the classic 3 to 5 times a day or whatever, but just at least once every day. So there's that consistency. I got 19,000 followers in 6 to 8 weeks. And if you go to my TikTok, you'll see that it's still around that mark. Actually, depending as of this video. But if you see this anytime in the future, it's going to grow exponentially. So I don't want to set an intention to manifest it staying the same because I'm putting this video up forever. Anyway, as of the time that I'm filming this, it's somewhere between 19 and 20,000 because I took a break from it and I stopped being consistent. And then I jumped back on a little bit and then I jumped off and I jumped back on and then I jumped off. And same thing when I built my Instagram. I got to 400 followers in the first couple months, and then I started to overthink things and be a perfectionist because that's the thing that I'm overcoming, and it stayed at that amount. So my point is, when you're being consistent, that's when you see the growth. So that's the most important thing when you are growing your audience. Be consistent. And the second most important thing is be authentic and show up and offer value to your people. So guys, that's like my little introduction, my half-hour introduction to how to start a business really simply and make it work for you and work for your life rather than your life working around your business. Because, I mean, yeah, like my business coach says, there's no point sacrificing There's no point sacrificing for money the things that you want money for in the first place. That's just silly. So anyway, follow, subscribe for more videos about manifesting your dream life and your dream business with ease, speed, and flow. Mwah. Do, 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 do.